Great. And we are back, and I'm glad that I have fellow colleagues and members to join me. I won't be alone for this session. So first of all, hi Ernesto, hi Sam, hi Ramar. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm really happy to kickstart this live conversation again. I have a series of questions, but let's make it interactive. And we're going to talk about agility in banking and how what are the crucial elements in terms of strategy, structure, people, process, and technology. So as I've done it a little bit throughout the day, but since you guys are here, instead of me doing the formal intro, I'll let each and every single one of you to share a little bit your background experience. So I'm going to start with Rajesh. Hi Rajesh, how you doing?
Hi Mike, thanks for having me on this session. This is Rajesh Ramar, and I'm a consulting partner and industry advisor for banking and financial services at TCS. I lead the advisory services for banking and financial service, specifically focusing on lending and credit management. It's been about 25 years in this industry and still getting exciting as we go by. Nice to talk to you all.
Thank you, Rajesh. Sam, this also, I did a great intro, but let's see if you can do better than what I introduced you earlier.
Sure, I've been around since dinosaurs and been working with CRM since it was called sales automation, and have done just a ton of projects, and a lot of them happen to be banks. And we've sort of specialized in the banking industry, particularly with Creatio and some of the cool stuff they have in the product.
Thanks, Sam. And we have Ernesto from B Global. Hi, Ernesto.
Hi, Mike. Hi, all. Nice to stay here chatting with you. I'm not so the same age than some of the dinosaurs, maybe Cro-Magnon or things like that, to be close into the time, but also have a lot of years of experience into implement CRM, BPM, and solutions along whole Latin America, and recently in the States and Central America too. Also working into some approach with different companies into implement digital transformation projects all the time.
Great. Well, thank you, Ernesto. So with the theme, of course, of agility in banking, let me kickstart with first question, and I'll see if I point out if any one of you wants to take that one, of course. But why is it crucial to? It seems like a cheesy question, but I don't think it is. Just to start a conversation about agility, which is a buzzword. Why is it crucial for a bank to be agile? And I'll start with you, Sam.
Well, what does agile banking really mean, right?
Yeah.
At the end, it's the ability to change your processes rapidly so that you can improve the quality of your both external and internal customers, right? And the whole idea around it is to provide faster response and service time to those customers, whether they're an internal employee or whether they're an external customer. And that is sort of the heart of what digital transformation is as well. So they go very much hand in hand. The reason, though, I think they call it, the reason why it's been termed agile banking is because the traditional processes for deploying solutions in the banking industry are in conflict with the concept of agile banking and digital transformation.
Rajesh, do you see agility as just be a component for financial organization, or how would you place agility in FinServ and fintech industry today, and that need to adapt?
Yeah, see, from a business perspective, I think every organization needs to grow. And I think that's the reason of the existence. So sustainable growth and transformation is what is required. And when you want to do that, I think there are a couple of forces which comes into play. How do you grow in an environment where customers' behavior constantly is changing? Mm-hmm. And that would mean that you need to make your processes, your systems your business model also as flexible to meet the customers' changing behaviors. I mean, you have perhaps seen today, we talk about the retail lending industry, and we talk about this product called buy now, pay later. And it's almost every bank has got into this bandwagon of doing this. That's because the customer's behavior have changed. People are now borrowing money to buy lifestyle goods, right? And that's one of the reasons why it becomes important that you start looking at Agile. Secondly, I think there are fleeting opportunities in the market. There could be certain things which will happen at this point in time and which you need to capture. And for example, not just opportunities, right? There are needs. During the pandemic, a lot of banks had to go in for giving a holiday period for the repayment. They need to go in for helping small business to tide over the issues. So these are the needs which comes in, and hence Agile becomes a central theme to the way banks exist, as well as the way they kind of support and manage the whole ecosystem around them.
Thanks, Rajesh. Ernesto, what are your thoughts again? Similar than Sam and Rajesh about the importance of agility for financial organization, whether you're a large bank, of course, but even a smaller financial institution.
Well, I believe that the comment of Rajesh was in the right direction, and also is all about keeping the market with the keep retaining customer and obtain more revenues. So Agile Bank is a part of the digital transformation path they need to become to keep on the market and retain the customer in that way. So all is engaged, all is needed to be fulfilled and complemented in that way.
Yeah, and so how do you improve agility, or how do you leverage agility, like you say, to accelerate, to generate more revenue? But any tips or caution about?
Yes, it's not just one silver bullet on that. It's a kind of combination of things or situations to be involved on that. One important part, of course, is the use of technology, local technology, or technology that take advantage of the collected data, the 360-degree view of the customer itself, to react and proact in terms of the action of the customer, but also, and not less important, is to engage the properly business team and internal team to enhance that, to empower that into the bank organization by himself and keep going on. So this the second axis of the considerations to keep improvement and advancing agile banking. And the third one, of course, is the use of the analytics and the data involved, because it's the most active, most important active of the banks are the data that they gather for different sources, any different channels, omni-channels in red social network, core banking, etc. And over that, all actions need to be taken and different tools need to be applied and proact and react, as mentioned before.
Thanks, Ernesto. And while we're also having this conversation, we're pulling out a couple polls. And one first poll that is both for the audience, but also for you guys, is what do you think is the most effective way for increasing bank agility? And we have either wholesale change, technology and processes, data and analytics, as you were talking, Ernesto, the leadership and talent, the people itself, the ecosystem, or all of the above. So I'll start with Sam. Again, I'll just give you the suggestions. The change of personal culture, technology and processes, data, leadership and talent, ecosystem, or all of the above.
Well, it's all of the above, but what's the most important one? Development of leadership and talent. Because there's a change, there's a leadership style that has to change when you embrace Agile. And it's not the tactical thinking that a lot of traditional banks follow, but it's more strategic in nature and delegating the tactical components to people down the line, not necessarily at the executive management position.
Rajesh, I'm sure you would say all of the above as well, but any second prime choice?
Sure, I will agree with Sam. So he's taken that. So I can't say that's the first one. Let me just, for argument's sake, it's not. I mean, I would say the ecosystem is as important as well. The
Mm.
reason is this, right? Every bank can only do so much when it comes to what capabilities they have inherently within them. But when you start hooking onto the ecosystem, you are now able to configure a lot of capabilities which you don't have. You can actually start giving products and services which you don't traditionally do as part of your banking portfolio. And being agile is about configuring those set of capabilities from an external environment, putting them together and offering a customer journey which is perhaps not thought of, right? I mean, I can give a quick example. For example, electric vehicles are something which is getting a lot of popularity in most parts of the world, and banks generally fund electric vehicles. And that's the end of the traditional job of a bank. Today, we can look at how can banks actually partner with charging stations? How can they partner with power companies to create that environment so more and more adoption of these things, the electric cars can happen, right? So here they were trying to build in an ecosystem, pull in them, and kind of bring a much larger purpose for the customer rather than just financing an electric vehicle, right? So ecosystem, I would say, is also an important strategy. While I agree with Sam saying that leadership, vision, that is the primary thing. But end of it, I think all of the options what you stated, I think, are very relevant.
Yeah, Ernesto, any change of mind or any alignment? I'm sure with Sam and Rajesh.
Plenty in line with
Yeah.
Sam and Rajesh in that. All above is the best suggestion in general, but is a composition of factors to become most effective. Those it's just not only one. So all
I agree.
are important in different moments even of the whole process.
And I have some results. I don't think I have the full extension, but some people may agree with Sam and Rajesh and Ernesto, of course, being I think people chose all the above because that was the easiest answer, but they picked 67% picked leadership and talent. And number 2 is the tech stack and the process smartization, the process improvement itself. So surprising result, but not that surprising, I think, to where we are right now. And that leads me to the next question. So what do you think is the best approach to overcome the obstacle or the challenges that a company has to become more agile? And I will ask Rajesh on this one.
All right. Yeah, I mean, just to understand what could be the challenges, right? I think we start more from the culture perspective, in the sense that is the wide acceptance of why we want to do a particular initiative. And I think the buy-in from the larger group is very important, and their acceptance of this idea is important for you to run this whole idea. The other thing I would see perhaps is a lot of companies tend to go too fast in the agile journey. Basically, you need to learn to crawl and walk and only then run and sprint later, right? So I think that's one challenge which is there when banks try to adopt this too rapidly, and then they see results which are not very encouraging. And then it becomes more a tick in the box of being agile rather than doing it in spirit. I think that's one other thing from the way you want to run these programs has to be in a gradual way to progress, learn things, and then bring in the culture and use that culture to further take up the culture of agile business.
Ernesto, other views or obstacles on what is slowing?
Yes, I was on the line of Sam mentioned before in terms of digital leadership in that, and how to need to shift the how to think about the customers into the leaderships on the banks, because you know, when you stole a card, you cannot call to your bank and say, hey, I stole my card. Okay, you need to go to the branch we print a new one and deliver to you. Right now is, okay, tell me, don't bother, we deliver to you, please, we capture your GPS coordinate and wait some time and deliver things like that. So it's one of our things to overcome is to change the way in the business need to be delivered to be close to the customer, to deliver that and to fulfill his needs, and not become more and more customer centric, not bank centric. So not all the things and the operation and the interaction need to be tracked to the banks. It's more and more delivered through the endpoint and to the customer, and to deliver all the information, all the data, all to that. So this change of mind into the leadership of the banks is an important question to be fitted to a successful strategy to become agile in terms of bank.
Well, thanks, Ernesto. And Sam, I was thinking to your prior presentation where you were showing that the math success formula, saying that even if you have all the ingredients, you're still lucky if you have more than one chance out of three to have a successful project. So more than the math itself, talking about operational practice, or what more than advice, do you have you particularly a tech advisor, do you have a methodology or how do you accompany financial organizations or banks in becoming more agile? More than you have to have leadership and change. Exactly. What's your approach? How would you tackle that?
So the challenge, first of all, is to convince the bank, which has been always a hierarchical structure, and thinking is very hierarchical in structure, and Agile is very distributed in structure, and it's a different mindset. So the first goal is try to get everyone to embrace Agile, right? And as Ernesto pointed out, in the past, it's always been about how can I improve my internal processes, and Agile's not. I mean, that's part of Agile, but it's also part of how do I improve the customer's experience to improve their response time. Those are the components of Agile that requires a sort of a mind shift in management. And when I said that they have to think strategic, not tactical, if you think about how big organizations have operated for years, it is very tactical. It's like I have some goals, I create a bunch of projects that support those goals, I plan them out for a year, and now everything's set for the next 12 months. And Agile doesn't work that way. Agile is a bunch of small incremental changes that support some goals, but as the goals during the year, the goals could change. We could have a pandemic. We could have everyone wanting to work remotely all of a sudden, and so we have to be able to adapt to that. Agile is perfectly designed for that, but it requires upper management to think differently. And I think that is probably the biggest impediment. And that's why I went with the, by the way, developing leadership and talent answer, because I think the part of that development is getting to the think in an agile approach.
But do you think, and that's also an open question to either one of you, should and is agility a concept or practice as its own, like OPEX, like operational excellence was, and using Lean Six Sigma itself? I'm curious exactly to see how you can embrace that, like you say, because it's a cultural shift, it's a mindset, it implies change, but how do organizations embrace that? Like you say, if you have the leadership or the sponsorship in supporting the technology, the process itself, I'm just curious to know how that should evolve, and if it is complementary or part of OPEX itself.
That's a good question, actually. So I certainly think that one can create an agile culture and then define solid agile processes, much like you found applied solid practical business processes, and got yourself some certification, whatever that might be, based on your industry, that defines you as a good company because you have solid processes. I don't think Agile goes against that. I think Agile adds some things that we don't think about normally. For example, in Agile, you experiment a lot. So you may have, and this is what, but again, I'm gonna bring it right down to low code, right? Low code, no code allows you to make that experimentation, to do a little pilot or something to solve a particular problem, and then step back. If you think about the Agile process, it is build something, evaluate it, and then either accept it or put it back into the queue to work on it some more. And the Agile banking and the Agile processes and the Agile project management, they need to think that way. It's okay to have some feature that you rolled out that you want removed because it didn't work the way you expected or behave the way you expected. That's part of Agile. That's part of that mind shift that has to happen as well.
Yes,
And
low-code tools are a facilitator, technological facilitator to mount over Agile strategy. So when you become Agile, need to be complement low-code tools plus KPIs to measure and to start again the cycle. And the other factor that could be become successful this kind of implementation things and strategy is to build some kind of center of excellence inside the company, inside the bank,
Yeah.
To reproduce, to keep, to gather all the experience in this kind of agile cycles that are a lot to enrich and to evolve without to have a problem with the same stones in the path. So you need to concentrate this knowledge that you are acquiring into the agile cycles into some part of the organization and spread overall. So center of excellence accomplish that kind of role into the important role into this kind of strategies, and it's the other pillar with technology and with, of course, the KPI that allows to improve or reactivate different cycles of Agile, as Sam mentioned before.
And I agree that it's all about measurement and measuring the effects of the changes that you put in place.
Yes,
You got to have a baseline. Yeah, sorry.
That points out to I like that thought, like you said, Sam and Ernesto, of measurement and KPIs. But what advice or how would you recommend in, or I'm trying to rephrase it because I want to think about the evaluation part. You know, we can talk about the implementation, the adoption, but how do banks or organizations in general today, what advice would you give them in choosing the right technology? The reason I'm asking that is we see very often a long list of requirements. Can you do A, B, C, D, F? And very often we're missing the how we address it. Yes, we can do most of the requirements. Most technology platforms can do that. But there's such a large variety of different technologies that on paper do the same. Some can be more agile than others. So I don't know if you have any recommendations or one advice, because it could be a long list of how you or how can organization try to evaluate better into choosing the right technology that will support their agility or support their digital transformation initiative.
Well, we have a white paper you can download off our website that talks about how to select CRMs.
I was to mention that.
Yeah.
It
wasn't even a promotion. So here we go, Sam.
But I think the important thing is the guys who make the mistakes in buying CRMs, they go through a process sort of like this. They get a bunch of demos, or they do a bunch of demos online. They make a list of things they'd like to have, and then they look at a bunch of. Then they have live demos, and whoever did the best live demo that touched the things they want, they win. And they never really get strategic. They never step back and do things like Ask our customers what they think. What do our customers want to have? What do the department people want to have? They never go through a complete set and definition of all the use cases. And then mapping those use cases against the final product or solution is the appropriate way of doing this. And that step gets skipped a lot. Or they don't go down far enough, in the sense that, oh, do you have workflow? Yes, we do. Okay. Well, everyone has workflow. It's about the quality of the workflow and what you can do in the workflow. And I think a lot of companies miss that in the selection process. They don't go deep enough in their own requirements and their own use cases.
And also in banking, how you integrate, how easy you integrate different core banking solutions, different multiple solutions, app solutions is a key factor too, to take it in account into the selection process. And how once you obtain and gather all the data, and I back again with that, you can work with that in next best offer, AI apply it over it, BI over that, because you need to achieve the most accurately data to take better decisions, because agile cycles become effective and you become successful if your decisions are based on good data. So if you cannot integrate well and you cannot obtain good data, enough data, quality data to take decisions, your decision will be taken in the wrong direction. So you could become the best in ever into implementation of any kind of technology, but you will go direct to the bad side of the dark side of the movie that way.
Well, AI can take you in the wrong direction really quick if you have bad data.
Yes. Yes.
But this is why also we need, partners like yourself. And again, just sharing from what I've seen and experienced, that, there could be confusion as well with no code equals no development, no coding, most likely, or smaller coding. But we still need advisors. We still need, partners that, one, can facilitate that integration, because I believe that usually when we talk about no code or CRM or process implementation, the integration is usually more complex than the process design, and of course the ability to make changes. And to conclude on that topic, and then I'll go with another poll question. One thing that we were brainstorming, within our sales team as well, is we all, and to your point, Sam, we all very often show the result. We show the demo. We show the great, features you want to see, the list of wishes and desires. We can do it, but showing how it's done or doing it with them live, that you could call a workshop, you could call it a lighter POC, a lighter pilot, I think also gives reassurance that they are going to be able to drive the car, rather than showing the magic. And then when you open the car, you realize that, you need a lot of gas, or you need a lot of muscle to be able to live that car. Yeah. So for the Paul, second question I have for the audience and for you guys is, which approaches would you choose to foster your team's success? Meaning that what is going to make your team successful? Is it organizing the teams by features or by needs? Develop team skills for analyzing and improving customer experience? Scale agile skills? Or repurpose existing features in other parts of business, or all of the above? It's very specific. I'm going to rephrase it again. Which approach would you choose to foster your team's success? Organizing team by features, develop team skills to analyze, improve customer experience, scale agile skills, or repurpose existing features in all parts of business?
That's tough.
It is a tough one. Why not?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the second one: developing team skills for analyzing and improvement the customer experience. Because at the end of the day, I think the customer experience is what's going to drive your future sales. If they have a bad experience, we all know if you have a bad experience, it affects you lots of different ways. Number one, the customer may not come back to you ever. And worse, he could put a terrible review on some review site and deter other people from working with you as well. So I think it's all about trying to help improve the customer experience.
Ernesto?
Yes, I agree with Sam. That is my first choice too. Also, I add the scale agile skills because it's another important factor into the team to keep in the same exercise in terms of the velocity, speed of the project into that. So they need to work well into the improving CX and tech skills in that, but also need to be agile in terms of become agile into the project too.
Great. Well, the audience agrees with you guys. Team skills for customer experience number 1, and agile skills and agile skills for number 2. So I'll wrap up with the last question. And I have 2 questions, but I'm going to see which one I want to address. Yeah, that's a good one. How would you treat no code as part of his enterprise strategy rather than just a tool? How would you promote the no code practice or as a practice and a strategy rather than just a technology tool?
I just start some about that because you I guess the most important way is to don't promote low-code tool as just a tool or just a facilitator. You need to promote that as a part of the strategic plan that Sam mentioned before. All the line of business into the bank or any customer need to be aligned into use his low code as a best way to introduce his knowledge into business, apply it into the new technology that they able to receive and implement in an easy way, like citizen development way. So it's not an approach to you are not training a businessman or a citizen developer like another programmer that use another tool. You need to incorporate the use of local technology as a facilitator to deliver the business experience on the technology that we use up to that.
Well, I think low code removes risk. And I think the less risk you have, the more successful you can be. And I think that just in general helps. It's also the fact that it takes less time, and that you can have people in the business side actually do some of the implementation work, which prevents a problem with what I call translation. Because if you think of a traditional implementation, there's business people and then there's these intermediaries called business analysts who take knowledge and try to translate it in such that a programmer can work on. And sometimes there's a little bit of that telephone game thing going on where the customer said one thing and the business analyst heard something else and the programmer heard yet something different, and that problem goes away because you're now collapsing that. You're having less programmers, maybe more business analysts doing the development, or in fact the customers themselves doing the development. So that's the advantage I see in low code, is the improvement in the speed and the reduction of risk.
Thank you, Sam. Rajesh, thanks for being here. Sam, I don't know if you've heard, I believe not, but just to summarize on low code, but exactly what would be your recommendation, and of course favoring adoption or making no code a mindset that rather than just a technology itself?
Yeah, so I think also if you look at transformation, large-scale transformation, gone are the days when you would have a 3 or 5 year roadmap for transformation, right? And today you need to make incremental changes. And the reason we want to make that is there's a lot of dynamics in the market, in the competition comes with customers. So what you have planned today changes in the next 3 to 6 months, right? And hence being agile is one, but then how do you do this incremental development is primarily using low code, right? And given that, I think when the organization culture aligns to this kind of an incremental transformation leading to a larger transformation, it helps achieve the larger goals. And we have seen such successes in many banks where we've been working with, where you start with a particular objective, but you need to be open to certain changes along the way, and you adjust to those changes, make good corrections. I think that's the culture which is kind of giving and yielding results.
Thank you, Rajesh. Well, Sam, Ernesto, Rajesh, it was a real pleasure, interacting with you today on the theme of agility in banking. Unfortunately, we will have to wrap up this session, and the day went fast. Even though we've all presented and hosted a few different topics today, I am convinced that it was very insightful for the audience, and I know that we will share as well all your contact details, and we will continue not only the conversation, but delivering and succeeding into implementing projects and leveraging no code in financial services. Thanks again to all of you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good one. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.